I'm going to run through our next lesson on soils. Okay, so it's just loading up there. There is no assignment with today's lesson, just some note making, and I'm going to run through some of those worksheets which you've already been sent before. Okay, I wanted to include the answer for the flow diagram on desertification, the question I gave you from New Wider World, but the majority of people still haven't submitted that work, so I can't review the correct answer yet. I do believe the deadline is today, so please get that in. Here's the headings for you. Okay, so Bahamian soils now. Today's Friday the 3rd, and you've got your objective. Alright, so we are looking at Bahamian soil types. Just some quick notes on this nice easy lesson to finish off the term, or half term. And like I said, there's no assignment with this, but you do need to have these notes. So, as we discovered in last lesson, okay, there's various types of soil found around the world. We looked in detail at two of them, the laterites and the podzols. We will look at latisols and chernozems later in today's lesson. Okay, just like that, the Bahamas also has different soil types. Okay, we can break our soils down into 3 different types. In our Blackland Coppice, which we spoke about before, okay, when we did our Bahamian landscapes last year in grade 10, we had our rocklands where you find the Blackland Coppice. This has thin soils on top, okay, very shallow. You can kind of see, maybe not with this camera, but the difference between the texture and color here and here. So those horizons we spoke about from the soils the previous day. All right, obviously we're a coastal country. Here's our coastlands from that Bahamian landscape. You can see the exposed geology here. Okay, note the vegetative cover here. You can see the vegetation up here, less vegetation along here. Okay, and we know how vegetation aids in the formation or creation of soil layers. Also, the type of material is very important. So along the coast, we've got a lot of sandy areas, okay, which makes the soil quite shallow, all right, and very high sand concentration. So, first thing as well, what are our soils used for? Okay, in terms of agriculture, the soils are really, really poor. They're really not very good for growing crops, as we'll explore in a couple of minutes. Okay, what we have to do, because the soils are either very sandy or very shallow, okay, we need to do this thing. We have to carry out something called scarifying. All right, so this is the breaking and smashing of the limestone bedrock to turn it into soil to grow crops in. So you need to get large machines, which are not easy to get around, and break up, okay, or destroy the top layer of limestone to try and create our own soil layer. Very expensive and not very it's not very good for trying to create profits. All right, second of all, what else we need to do, another problem we encounter, is getting water to everywhere. Again, because our bedrock is limestone and the water will filter down through it instead of staying at the surface, we need irrigation, which is the controlled movement of water to areas of land to encourage or allow agriculture to take place. So these are the 2 things we need to do to our soils if we want large-scale agriculture, and it's 2 reasons why we don't have large-scale agriculture. So please make a note of this and of this under where you've headed up. All right, now the next little bit I want to do, okay, just 2 slides on this. This picture and this picture of text are both from the Bahamas Today, all right, page 5 and 6. So if you have that book, you can simply highlight the passages. This is page 5, this is page 6. Okay, if not, as the text says, if you do not have the Bahamas Today, please add the highlight text from below onto your folder sheet for today's notes. Alright, so just 2 short little passages here. Alright, the Bahamas Today, the soils in the Bahamas. Okay, it develops from the first of all, soils, as we know, develop from the breakdown of surface rock, okay, through weathering. Then you add vegetation, animal matter to the rock. So that mixture of dead vegetation and broken up rock starts to form our soil. All right. Now, in the Bahamas, unfortunately, we don't really have this mixture. So soils that have not had time to mature are usually thin, stony, and lack nutrients. So what you need to happen is you need this weathering and cycle of vegetation to happen again and again and again and again. Then that builds up a thick soil layer which you can then grow your crops in. It usually takes a while for this mature soil to form. Soils which have not had time to mature are thin and lack nutrients, and that is the Bahamas. Okay, on to page 6 in Bahamas today. Now, because of our limestone and the fact limestone dissolves in rainwater and leaves very little residue, the soils throughout the Bahamas are extremely thin and patchy. Okay, so you can see this anywhere you go out. Most of your back gardens will probably have some exposed rock or a very thin soil layer. All right, because of the geology. Now, we said before how the geology, the parent material below the soil layer, that helps to form a good layer of soil, and unfortunately limestone is not very good for that. Now, what soils there are in the Bahamas can be divided into 3 main categories: organic, residual, or sedimentary. Okay, and again, I've sent you a little worksheet which breaks this down even further, but a couple of things. Organic soil, referred to as black after its colouring. Okay, it's usually found in the forested coppiceland areas in the northern Bahamian islands. All right, it's a mixture of rotted vegetation from the coppice, okay, the humus layer, and piece of limestone throughout it. All right, it's extremely vulnerable to erosion. All right, so once we take that vegetation cover away, like from this picture here, if you took all that away, the soil layer would simply blow away very, very quickly. All right, residual soils then, these are our red or pineapple soils. Think about Eleuthera. Less common but more suitable for farming. Okay, so these would be found in Eleuthera. They have a high clay content, all right, and they're found along ridgelands. So they're found on the lower slopes of ridges or between ridges. All right, and then finally, our sedimentary rock is really just a mixture of sand and any kind of humus or dead vegetation. So wherever there's beaches or sand dunes, all this would be here. This soil would just be kind of compacted sand, and the roots are dying vegetation like this. As that rots down in here, it'll add to that soil layer, this material, as it rots away or decomposes. Okay, they're the 3 types of soil we have in the Bahamas. All right, so having said that, let me just check how we're doing for time.